gone quiet. Oh, right.
Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Oh, this is the perfect time for it.
We go off air these days. We've never got a count. I was going to tell this big story. Did you get a count?
I did.
Oh, leave the rest of the talent out.
We've got Juls, Frank, we've got Shaka, we've got Craig. Tell your story now. It's a perfect time for Extra Time. Not now.
Just never heard the director there.
We were asking Craig why he didn't go into the comments on YouTube after he said he would on the show.
No. I said I'd leave a comment. How many times do you see me having a conversation with people on Twitter? Go on Twitter.
Not often.
You know, people go on and people respond, and then you have a conversation with people, have a long conversation with people that they've never met, don't know. How many times?
So you're not going to subscribe to Twitter Blue?
No, but I'm not buying a tick. Stick it, shove it. But I do know somebody that has.
Oh.
So it's suspenseful here. Who's that?
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if... I don't think... Jules, I don't think you have, but maybe you have, I don't know.
No.
Some people get them bought.
Someone with
There
maybe...
is
them.
There's a guy on the show, and you have to work it out from yourself,
From the north.
but he's from Scandinavia.
Oh, man. Who can it be?
He's been seen recently.
No clue.
He's been chased by a fish in a running track. He's been on every country. He's done shows from lavatories.
He wants to put on 5-minute videos, so he had to buy it.
He had what, sorry?
Well, you have more perks, and you can put longer content and write more if you have this. So maybe that's why he's
wants to write more?
Him.
The only thing I write on Twitter is sod off. Now he's bought a tick. The Scandinavian lad. Who is it?
I have no idea.
Who is it?
I have no idea. Without the name, I have no idea.
Think of how slow he was. So the fish video was at least 3 minutes just to do one lap.
He's only gone and bought it.
All right, I'm going to start. First question here for Jules. How much do you think Pep's knowledge of Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko really helped his game strategy against Arsenal? Did his familiarity with Arteta also contribute to his game plan?
It's a good question. I think it's always better if you're a manager and preparing for a game like this when you know that well some of the opposition, especially the coach. But again, I don't think he needed to anyway. I think it's pretty obvious, and to go back to what Frank was saying on the show, Arsenal were quite predictable because they've always played one way this season, and Pep knows that really well. It's quite easy to analyse in the sense that you see clearly the pattern of play that Arsenal have used this season and the style and what they do with the ball and without the ball, the way they press and the way they move the ball when they have it. So, yes, maybe, of course, he knew, and so did Ruben Diaz and John Stones, how Gabriel Jesus likes to control the ball and what he likes to do with the ball. And I guess someone like Bernardo Silva knew exactly what Alex Zinchenko likes to do too, of course. And that has his importance somewhere. But again, I don't think that overall Pep would have prepared exactly the same way and would have put a plan together to counter this Arsenal team, whether it was Arteta, the coach, Craig, Shaka, Frank, you, me, whatever. I don't think in the end maybe that was that much important.
There's lots of questions for Jules tonight.
Good.
I probably shouldn't have started with him.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Bye-bye. All right, next question for Jules. People often seem to give PSG a pass by saying City has never won a Champions League as well. But how different and far apart are the two clubs as sporting projects?
Ooh.
I mean, we don't have that much time, but they clearly went in two different ways. One was the very bling-bling PSG, Paris, Eiffel Tower way with Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Neymar, Messi, Kylian, all of that. And the others went in a different way. First with Mancini, and then with Pellegrini, and then waiting for Guardiola really to come over. They just built the two clubs in a very different way. And now they are two very different teams. And PSG had their chance to win the Champions League first. Then it was City who had their chance. Now it looks like City might have another chance this season and not PSG. And I guess if City win it before, we could say that, okay, their path was better. But then if PSG had won in 2020, maybe we would have said, well, that worked better than what City have done. I don't know, it depends what you like. If you like the bling way or if you like the more structural way that City have done. It depends, but right now, City are better as a football team than PSG are, there's no doubt.
Why are you laughing, Frank?
Well, because they're so far away from each other, and Jules explained it very, very well. You know, that's not the same philosophy of thinking football and thinking how to deal or to conduct a club. And it's why I was laughing, because Paris Saint-Germain is really nowhere near it, you know, to win the Champions League. When I see what they are doing. They have to restructure everything to make sure that at some point, one day, they're gonna be back to their best and maybe compete against Manchester City. But right now, there's such a big difference between those two clubs.
Craig, why in the world was Ryan Mason not given the Spurs job earlier? At least the players look like they want to play for him.
Second half they did. Well, he's done it before, I think. But yeah, I never quite understood why Conte's sidekick just didn't go with him. You know, I never quite... And that was before the debacle at Newcastle. Because it's just really... Everything he does is a clone and a replica of what Conte does because he's worked with him for so long. So, I don't know. Decisions at Tottenham are a little strange. Daniel Levy's decision-making's a little strange. Off the cuff, you know, a little erratic. There's an interesting article actually by Ian Ladyman a few weeks ago in the British newspaper saying that sometimes he takes advice from others around at Tottenham behind the scenes, Daniel Levy that is, and other times he just goes off on a tangent and makes a decision on his own. So it's a very erratic way to do business, I would say.
We've got the Spurs manager odds. What's the talk in London, Jules, on who's coming in?
Spurs, you said.
Yeah.
It's a bit undecided. We heard Ryan Mason yesterday saying that he feels ready for that job. I think Julian Nagelsmann is still the preferred choice if you want because of the identity that his teams have been playing with, because of you could easily see him kind of building a team and building a squad if he's given the time. And to do something very interesting, he's clearly a tactical genius, but we've seen at Bayern that he needs to add maybe a bit more kind of relationship in his way of managing a dressing room and managing a club of that kind of status, really. But I think there's a lot of people at the club right now who are fans of Nagelsmann. But again, there's a long way. Somehow, it's again interesting to see so Chelsea and Spurs sacked their coaches, let's say, pretty much at the same time, just for the sake of it. They both went with interim coaches, both terrible choices, Stellini and Lampard, clearly. Now, Spurs have changed it as quickly as they could, really, 29 days later. Chelsea, not so far, but Chelsea are much more advanced with Pochettino, for example, for taking over probably next season, but having this kind of big-name manager in place, Spurs, they're nowhere near. So again, a bit like what the City PSG we explained earlier, for Chelsea and Spurs, clearly two different policies on what to do for that kind of job as a manager.
Who would you give it to?
Well, just to be clear, and I think this is right, and I'll stand corrected if not, Nagelsmann is effectively on garden leave at Bayern. Yeah? Well, because I think part of it, and Jules can correct...
So they're still paying him?
Yeah. So this is what sometimes business, clubs, everybody does. They put him on garden leave, and he's getting paid as if he's still an employee there, but he's not managing the club. And he's obviously got a big bunch to get from Bayern, you know, a lot of money. And if he takes the Tottenham job, it deactivates and terminates the contract technically with Bayern. And so he loses a lot of money, potentially. And I don't know what else is involved in that, but I think I read somewhere today that potentially was a stumbling block for hiring Nagelsmann, was how that was all going to be compensated to either him or the club or whatever. I don't know. Is that am I on the right path, Jules, or not?
Yeah, although sometimes those gardening leave, the manager still get the money that he's still owed by his the former club that he had. So Nagelsmann will still get the money that Bayern owes him. Let's say the 2 years that he still had left on his contract, they will pay that. The garden leave is to spread obviously the wages, still paying the wage instead of paying all in one go like Abramovich used to do. Here you go, 5 years left there on your contract, I give you the 30 million and you get out of my club. Instead, you keep paying him until he finds another club, and then you have to pay the lump sum that is remaining. But sometimes, you're right, sometimes it doesn't happen like that, and it's a negotiation to have between the former club, the new club, the manager on who pays what kind of compensation it is, and it might be down to Spurs having to pay Bayern something as well.
Who would you bring in at Spurs from that list we've seen?
I think Nagelsmann is a good fit. And again, to the discussion, I don't know what that costs, or whether Nagelsmann would want it, but I just feel that Nagelsmann will be a good fit for Spurs. And given some of the experiences at Bayern, just dealing with the difficulties of Daniel Levy.
Next question's for Jules. Your kit collection is very impressive. Do you randomly choose one before every show, or is there a pattern we're missing? That's a cool
No, so this is the one from today.
That's a
Edgar
cool
David's away shirt from the Netherlands, 2002 to 2004. That's the one they were wearing. It's my friend from Classic Football Shirt. They've got a shop in Manchester, one in London. You can order online. I just go there often with the kids, and the kids pick the one that they like. We pick randomly the shirt. Some have names in the back, some don't. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think the last few weeks I had the Bohemians from Dublin in the League of Ireland. I've had a Barcelona shirt, the kind of grey one, or the PSG one. I've had a few others. So yeah, we go there.
You need Fiorentina,
and we
after they got snubbed by Shaka in the power rankings.
There are a few snubbings.
oh
Gonna
god,
be buying
yeah.
a lot of shit.
Just for that, big time.
Right.
Big time.
One more.
But no, yeah, it's
One
great.
more.
It's great because
Oh, I thought we were done.
Last one.
people really enjoy it.
If you were Harry Kane, what team would you decide to move to? Frank?
West Ham.
What about Newcastle?
Well,
No.
no.
Red
Bayern
flag.
Munich, I said it during the show. Bayern Munich. I think the Lewandowski has gone. Since then, they didn't have a good striker, and they need one. And Harry Kane, I think, will perfectly fit to the way Bayern Munich plays.
Craig, you pretty much said Manchester United during the show.
Well, old Harry's German's not up to much, so yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
He doesn't need German. They'll be fine. They all speak English.
Oh, do they?
They need a goal scorer.
Yeah.
Nope, not having it.
I think Manchester United.
Bayern Munich are a fantastic club. Well, not exactly been run brilliantly at the moment by Sally Hally Hammy Ditch, as Stevie would say, and Oliver Kahn. But I think Kane has said he wants to stay in England. So
Manchester United.
Manchester United. Jules, you get the final say. Kane to where?
To PSG. I mean, it's great. Come to Paris, Harry. Viens, Paris. Viens à la maison. Come to Paris. My mum will cook for you. My dad will bore you with his
all right.
stories. I'll show you
Here's
the
a deal.
city. Frank will be
If
with
you
you. We've got a
wear-
great restaurant.
Okay.
Croissant,
If
pain au
you get a
chocolat,
Tottenham
la Tour
shirt from your
Eiffel, Arc de
friends,
Triomphe, Champs-Élysées.
you get a Spurs shirt from your friends with Kane's name on it, and you can show how much you want
Yeah.
that to happen, Jules.
That he cannot.
That you
That
are
he
hard.
cannot.
This is hard.
I didn't think so.
why doesn't he do a Sol Campbell and go to Arsenal?
Oh, Jules.
Well, he was at Arsenal as a kid.
What do you
There's a
think?
picture of him in an
What do you
Arsenal.
Of course,
think,
it was
Jules?
before Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
a
true.
great
He's not
idea,
very
Craig.
good.
That's the best thing you've said on this show for a very long time.
To be fair, Jules, it's not difficult.
Oh, we'll end it there. Thanks so much for sending in your questions. We'll see you next time on Extra Time. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.